Okay, so I have a tumor on my thoracic spine, and how I found it was I was having issues swallowing, and my doctor said go get a CAT scan. I said okay, and so he's like, there might be something going on in your throat. There's something weird there, and I said okay, I'm feeling something weird, and I said okay. So I go to radiology. I get a CAT scan. They're like, oh, it doesn't seem like there's anything going on in your neck, but we did find this 6.5 centimeter round tumor inside, next to yours or touching your spine, and a couple of arteries here that are very important, to pumping blood. And I was like, really? I had no idea about this. And they're like, okay, well, we're gonna have to do a biopsy to see what kind of tumor this is. I said, okay. I go back to my general practitioner, and he's like, cool. Good to know that we found this tumor. He's like, I think it's a schwannoma, which is just like a bundle of like nerve cells that kind of grow out of control. And I was like, that's good to know. At least it's not cancer. And he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not cancer. I said, okay. But he's like, let's wait for the biopsy to be sure. I said, okay. So I go to a different hospital. I go to like this, one of the best hospitals in California, or probably maybe even the United States for like cancer hospitals, which is called City of Hope. And I go there, and they start doing all my testing and stuff. So they test my blood, they test all the stuff. I'm like, okay, we're gonna need to give you an MRI. I said, okay, cool, I'll take an MRI. And I get the MRI machine, and they're like, we need to do an MRI with contrast. We're gonna inject you with this halfway through the MRI. The last 10 minutes, we're gonna give you the contrast, and you'll be fine. I was like, okay, is this not gonna be like the CT contrast, is it, where like it makes your body, because for those who don't know, if you take a CAT scan with contrast, the contrast can give you like, I don't want to say symptoms or side effects or anything, but it gives you like this weird sensation where it makes your whole body hot, and it makes you kind of nauseous, and it feels like you pissed your pants. It's an insane feeling that you feel like you're pissing your pants because you're clenching your bladder as it's happening, and it still feels like there's warmth going down your legs, and it's basically the gallium going through your bloodstream. I believe that's the metal they put in you. And so yeah, I was like, it's a similar contrast, but there's no iodine in it, so it's not going to give you that warm feeling. And I said, oh, cool, that's great. So I'm in there. He's like, okay, we're going to release the contrast now. And I'm in the MRI machine. He's like, okay. I was like, uh-oh. He goes, what? I was like, I don't feel so good. And he's like, oh, what's wrong? It's like, I'm feeling incredibly nauseous. And I immediately sit up and I slide myself out of the MRI tube, and I start puking, and I throwing up all over the side of the MRI machine. I got a little bit on there. I was trying to avoid doing that, but it was like such a visceral reaction. I had no control over my body. It felt like my insides were like wanting to jump on the outside. It was like the worst violent vomiting I think I've ever experienced in my life, and it was hurting, and it hurt really, really bad, and that was awful. And I forgot to mention that I just had the biopsy the day before that, and so the point where they did the biopsy was like hurting on because they went through my back here. Let me see my mouse. They went through my back here to put a needle in, and they took it out there. It's extracted the material that way to test it, and that was actually not that bad. They give you a bunch of lidocaine, they push the needle down further, give you more lidocaine, they push the needle down further, give you more lidocaine, push the needle down further, you lidocaine, push the needle down further, till eventually they're like in the center of it, and they use this extraction tool, and they just pull out like 4 or 5 extractions of your tumor. And I was like, oh, that wasn't pleasant, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It didn't feel great, but honestly it could have been a lot worse. So that went by okay. Sorry, I'm a little uncomfortable sitting here right now. And then we're back to the MRI. Sorry, the next day I'm at the MRI. I'm throwing up on the side of the MRI machine. And the radiologist that was in there was like, oh boy, that was a reaction. I was like, yeah, that didn't feel great. He's like, okay, let's finish this up. He's like, once you stop, you'll stop. It'll be done. He's like, you're one of the very rare people that this happens to, like where you have a reaction to the contrast that we put in you. I was like, oh, well, lucky me. I was like, I'm glad I can make your day exciting. We laugh it off. We go, and he's like, other than the vomiting, he's like, you were like super still. We got really good imaging of you. I was like, this was like, you were like one of the best. I was like, well, that's good to know. At least you guys will get like very accurate images of everything. And he's like, yeah, that's good news. So I go home the next day. I'm kind of fine. At night, I start feeling a little icky. And I was like, oh, I don't feel so good. Like my hands were kind of swelling. And my wife was like, because you're not really moving your shoulder. And I was like, okay. maybe. So I start like moving my hands, my shoulder to like get the blood flowing back out of my fingers and stuff. Next morning I wake up, and I know you guys don't normally know what my hands look like, but my hands here were like, this is like twice the size of my left hand almost. My thumb was swelling. This was after I got on a medication to bring the swelling down. But my hands are like swelling twice the size. And then the hands that weren't swelling, I had these rashes on the other side. This is the same hand, but never mind. I just realized you could see my junk there a little bit. Don't look at that. But yeah, I have a rash here. You can see it like forming there, and it's hard to see on my skin, especially with the pictures because my skin tone. But here's another one on my hand, the rash forming on the other side of the hand, and then here's my wrist on the right hand. You can see there it's all red, and it was in person. It was much more bright, much more vivid. And then my hand started doing this thing where, because it was the pull from the biopsy, my hand wouldn't like stop. My thumb was just kind of like locked in this position for an hour, which went away like after the hour. But I go to the doctor and they're like, "Oh, you're having like a delayed reaction to the MRI contrast." It's like, this is like a super rare thing where your body will not like that contrast being inside of you, and it's like you're having an allergic reaction. And so my face was swollen. The day after that, my face started swelling. My lips were swelling. I had a rash across my hairline, like the front of my hairline. And that was I was miserable. I was itchy. I was swollen everywhere. My feet were swelling. I couldn't walk. My hands were swelling. It was a pretty miserable experience all around. But then I get the confirmation later on that it was a schwannoma, which is good news. We don't stand schwannomas, but I got bad news because my schwannoma is in a crazy place here. Since it's on my spine, it's like back here on my spine, behind my heart. This is behind this artery here. But it's like right here. Here, well, it's probably like this big. So if you trace the mouse here, it's this big and it's taking up this much space. So it's touching my spinal column, my thoracic spine area. And it's also touching my subclavian my subclavian artery and my subclavian vein. So that wasn't good. That like might lead to more, maybe, probably not, but it's another issue with getting it out of there, because they have to remove it because it's touching my spine. Like, if it was floating in there, it might be easier to just let you live with it and monitor it every couple of years to see if it's getting bigger or not. And if it gets so big, then we have to remove it. But it's because it's touching your spine and it's so big right now. It is growing, but like these things grow super slow. This could have been in me for longer than a decade. And because it's touching these subclavian arteries and veins, they want to remove it because it could cause pressure. It could cause, like, if it gets so big that like it could cut off pressure down from that, and it can cause like a potential maybe a heart attack, or like numbness, or like loss of blood flow to my arms and other parts of my body. So yeah, there's that to deal with. Yeah, I don't know. That wasn't good news. That was like pretty bad news. And then I spoke to the neurosurgeon who wants to do a laminectomy on my back, which is a relatively medium procedure. It's pretty regular. It's not a comfortable procedure to do. A laminectomy, I believe they take out part of your spine and replace it with titanium bolts and plates and stuff like that. I believe that's what it is. So they can get to the back of it that's touching my spine. And because of where it's at, the neurosurgeon said, it looks like it's touching the door here, but it's not like touching your spinal cords at all. He's like there might be something going on there, but that's probably your bone. He's like, I'm pretty sure that's your bone. And I said, okay. He's like, if that's not your bone, then we're gonna, it could be like, chance of paralysis. I was like, that's fucking great. So I've been a little bit stressed about this, and I've been talking about this with some friends, and it was a little eye-opening to see the friends that would respond and were there for me. And I appreciate the ones that were, and but the other ones that you think would be kind of not there, feels a little not so great. family, kind of same thing. And I get we all have like things we have to do in our lives, but it was just a little, I don't know, felt a little shaded by it, or shaded by them. So the severity of this isn't like super severe, but it's not like not severe because of where it is. Like the tumor itself isn't severe, it's the location that it's severe, and it made me like, I've been anxious and I've been like really frustrated when I speak about this stuff, because like just going to the doctor all the time, getting all these checkups, learning new stuff about it. I have another one on Friday, the last one with my neurosurgeon to sign paperwork to say that I have to give him the okay to do the surgery and stuff like that, basically. And then I have to go do an advance directive and stuff too, just in case things don't go as planned. I don't know. I'm stressed out about it because I have two, young kids, and if anything happens to me, it'd be terrible for them. Like, I don't want them to be without me, obviously. And I don't want to miss out on them growing up. As far as like, the potential loss of life, it's still pretty small, but it's not zero, and it'd be greater not to have this. But I'm looking at like a 9-hour surgery. That's what the thoracic surgeon said. He's like, you're looking at like over a 9.5-hour surgery. And I was like, great. Because they're going to do them both at the same time, the laminectomy and the removal of this tumor, because they're both kind of related. But I've kind of, I don't know. I'm a little, I have a hard time talking about this with people because it's hard to convey to me how scary this is, because everybody else is like, you're going to be fine, it's not a big deal, whatever. It's like, yeah, sure, easy for you to say, and this isn't like the worst case scenario either, but I don't know why I'm yapping so much, but I'm frustrated, I'm worried, and I just keep getting responses of like, you're going to be fine, and that doesn't really necessarily help. I think that I don't know, like there's a small chance that things could, maybe greater than small chance than things could go awry, especially with the tumor, if it is touching the spinal column or the spinal cord, sorry, that would be a bigger issue. But yeah, and I just feel kind of alone, maybe because I've been isolating myself a little bit more too, because I don't know how to talk about this with friends and be vulnerable with them, but it's easier for me to do it behind an avatar online, you know what I mean? So I'm telling you guys about it, and if anybody stumbles upon this video, I don't know, I've just been feeling kind of weird about it. Yeah, and I think that's it. I just kind of wanted to talk about it, kind of just to get it out there and off my chest a little bit. And I have said this stuff to friends, and the ones that are supportive are really good and really nice and sweet. But it's just been like the family stuff that's been kind of, as far as, and when I say family stuff, I don't mean like, I mean, it is scary for me to think about my kids and stuff like that, but it's like the family that just really isn't there. You know what I mean? And it kind of hurts and sucks. Because especially with the recovery, I'm looking like at a month-long recovery, and like, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be like not the best feeling. It'll be very uncomfortable, is what the surgeon said. You're going to be uncomfortable for a while. You're not going to feel great. And I said, okay, that's good to know. At least I know what I'm in for, and I like knowing what I'm in for. I don't like the ambiguity of it all. That gives me very much a lot of stress. And I'm diagnosed with like a generalized anxiety disorder and OCD, so like I have like other things going on. But one thing I did want to take away, like I don't know, one thing positive I want to not spend, one thing that this is like the trauma of it all, and I use that word, I don't use that word very loosely, I don't throw that word around a lot, but this has been kind of a traumatic experience. It has led to some revelations with me and how I feel about living my life, like and career-wise, and yeah, so I think I'm gonna do like a bit of a career change, and I don't know, I was doing music for a long time in my career, and I was fairly successful in it, and I've done some things, maybe some things you've heard, maybe not, Probably not, to be honest. Like, but you know, whatever. COVID happened. A lot of the stuff, you know, fell through. Then I started looking into IT, doing IT stuff, and that seems even sketchy now. So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think I'm going to try to, with COVID happening, not COVID happening, making it sketchy. AI makes IT stuff kind of sketchy now. It's like, it's still, there's a physical aspect to it that you have to be there, especially with networking, which is what I'm interested in. It's still like, if you're setting up a network online, I don't know, there's a lot of job ambiguity there with setting up like VLANs and stuff like that, because you could do that technically through like an AI, and a lot of more companies are realizing that, and they're like kind of, you know, pushing everything towards like an online network, which is good and bad at the same time. So yeah, I think I'm gonna stick to something creative, whether that's like YouTube, I don't know, or going back into music, I don't know, but I think I want to do that. But yeah, I don't know, I appreciate you guys listening. I don't know, this was just kind of a bit of a rant and a ramble about how I feel, and I just needed to talk about it, I guess. Yeah, I'll see you guys later. Yeah, I'll just see you guys later. Take care of yourselves.